Whether you're buying or selling your home, get the benefit of expertise.
Hey, well, compliments to the show. You're really hitting on the subjects and you're telling the truth. I appreciate you.
Meet the team at dangemus.com. And now, filling in for Dan Gemus, your host, Joyce Blackmere.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joyce Blackmere, Director of Sales with the Dan Gemus team, and I have Aaron Blackmere, Sales Rep with the team, with me in studio today. Hello.
Hello.
We're celebrating your 20th year in real estate this year, and
we're going to celebrate all year?
All year, the
Nice.
whole year.
I like it. This is getting better.
Yes, keeps getting better.
Yep.
Your 6th year with the Dan Gemus team.
Mm-hmm.
We actually, Aaron and I moved down to the Windsor, Essex region a number of years ago from the Collingwood Wasaga Beach market. So
Yes.
different markets, 5 hours apart. So it's always fun and exciting to learn and experience
And
new things in different areas.
And it's interesting to kind of look back a little bit sometimes and talk to people that we're still colleagues of ours up there, and just to kind of see the differences in the markets. What's happening here and what's happening there.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot of fun to watch. That I don't know if the word's fun for everybody, but it's interesting.
It's interesting.
To watch. Yeah,
for sure. Well, listen, we have Patrice Surette from Goldmar Property Management on the line. She's got her mortgage, or sorry, not her mortgage tip. No, her landlord tip of the week. Patrice, do you have a mortgage tip or just landlords?
Just landlord. I mean, I wish I had mortgage tips, but yeah, just landlord tips.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well.
Yes. How about you guys?
Good. Yeah. We're always
living the dream.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. But it's February, so we're almost out of the winter. That's my my
this is a good thing
for myself. Yep.
6 more weeks.
6 more weeks.
Yep. And if I had to venture a guess, it'll start warming up before then.
I think
better.
So.
Yeah.
So
Patrice, you and I were talking earlier this week. You were talking about how we're starting to see the rental prices come down. How about you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. We just, on average, you're seeing a little bit of price adjusting happening. And really the biggest reason is the volume of inventory. And there's a couple different reasons that we've seen that shift. Is number one, I mean, there's a ton of condo buildings being built, which is awesome, right? But a good majority of them are also turning to be rentals, right? So we're getting so many more rentals on the market. Which is good for the housing supply issue, right? But what's happening is now where, it used to be so few units and so many people looking, it's gone to the opposite, as well as the international enrollment decline. So that's affecting all the student rentals over by the university and by the college. There's just less people that came in for these last 2 semesters at the university and college. So what's happening is those groups that would have normally taken those rentals haven't been. Right, so we're seeing that increase of inventory sitting, where they were always designated or more inclined to rent to students, but now they're kind of having to rethink it and think, okay, maybe we have to do something different. But families aren't necessarily in a position they're going to pay the same rent as students would, right? So a group of 7 students paying rent versus a family renting that home isn't the same. So I think it's a combination of all of those things. And landlords just having to do pricing adjustments just to be competitive because there's so many out there. So it's not necessarily like those condo ones coming on are not the ones that are seeing the decline. Like, don't mistake that. Those are the higher price ones that are driving up the average prices, but it still becomes volume, right? So our very good pool of people have so many more choices. So what I'm saying to landlords a lot is, look at your property. Are there some improvements you can do to make it more competitive in the market? Because people are definitely shopping, right? I guess you guys would call it the buyer's market. So same thing. It's a renter's market a little bit right now, where they just have, if they have a certain budget, they have a ton of choice out there. So they're definitely taking their checklist of their must-haves, right? Whereas before, they would take something with no parking and just kind of be okay with street parking. But now they're like, well, no, because this one over here offers parking and this one has underground parking and this one, right? So then they can maybe make adjustments in their budget to meet the needs that they want. Whereas before, they were making acceptance, almost like they were exceptions to what their list was. They'd be like, well, it's not perfect, but, and I think that's the big thing is so now landlords are trying to be price sensitive, right? to see if that kind of brings things into line where they'll get a good tenant.
Yeah. So you had mentioned
different.
that owners are making rethinking things. What kind of things are you seeing? How is that? What's that translating to in the rental market?
I think rethinking it of like what's required when you turn over a unit, right? Like maybe you do have to paint it, right? Maybe you do have to do that bathroom renovation that you've been putting off for a couple of turnovers now. Maybe you do need to upgrade your kitchen. So not major. Just some cosmetic improvements sometimes will help, or they have to take a look at their rents and really be aware of their competition, because if you keep on your price and it's way higher than it should be, right, based on everybody around you, and you're not offering the amenities or the features that people are looking for, the difference of it sitting for 3 months, right, if you divide that by your 12 months and it averages out, you can afford to reduce the rent to get somebody in there. So I think you're looking at either price pointing or, improving it so that they can compete. And then we have a lot of owners looking also to see if they can add those extra units, right? Split the house into two, add the ADU in the back. We're seeing that start to take some motion again. And I think the city's made that easier a little bit. So you're seeing more applications going through for that, a lot of conversions happening, which is great, again, for inventory, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's good.
So landlords are really just have to be competitive now, like they didn't have to before, because there was such demand. Now they're going to have it in the residence itself and in their costs. Yeah,
and you have to be conscious of what everything's around you, right? And again, I don't know what's going to change with that student enrollment anytime soon. So this might be our new thing. This might be our new Windsor market, is that we're going to have a lot of that university area, either convert back and rent to families, or, they're going to sit empty, because we saw a huge decline. And the sad thing was we didn't know about it that soon before it happened, right? Like nobody had really time to prepare. In September, it was just all of a sudden, where's all the students, right? Like we didn't have those big groups. And we actually had some students that signed leases that had their visas denied. So they ended up having, so they were, I don't actually know what that application process looks like for them to come here for school, but we did have a couple people have to back out because they weren't allowed to come. So, very interesting. And I don't know what the university is going to do to pivot on that, right? If that's been that's a lot of students that, that aren't coming now. So hopefully they'll have a strategy that will trickle effect down, but how long that'll be, because our January semester also used to be a pretty big enrollment. We didn't see a lot in January either for students coming. So
real quick, Patrice, what are you seeing in the with the licensing program? Is there any news or updates on that?
Nope, nothing. I think the second appeal or the appeal process was heard, but I don't think there's a decision. But on the flip side of that, we haven't had any. No other landlords have asked to start the process, and we haven't really heard anything from the city as far as enforcing it for people that haven't. It's kind of been radio silence.
Oh,
gotcha.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, kind of weird. But
what are you seeing for average rents right now then for, a typical 3-bedroom family home?
Oh, a 3-bedroom family home. I mean, those are still very, very good, because a lot of people, that aren't being able to buy right now are still looking. So depending on the area, a 3-bedroom will be anywhere $2,600, sometimes higher. But, bachelors are a little bit, it's funny because we used to be able to, and it was crazy to me, but we used to get $1,200 for a bachelor. And we have one right now that's $995 because we priced it competitively, and we still haven't rented it. So it's a little bit, again, right, it's a little bit of a price thing, because they could get a 1-bedroom instead of having a bachelor. You're going to pay a little bit more for one, and our 1-bedrooms used to be $1,400 or $1,500, so they're coming down. But mostly, honestly, the biggest impact is the 2-bedrooms, because that's what they're building for condos. Majority is 2-bedrooms. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah. Patrice, if people have questions about renting out their property or finding a property to rent themselves, how can they reach out to you?
If they call the office, 519-252-5010, or they can send us an email to info@goldmar.ca.
Awesome. Well, Patrice, thank you as always for joining us. We appreciate your insights.
Thanks, Patrice.
No problem. Okay, guys. Bye.
Bye. Well, before we go to break, we have a gift card that we're going to be giving away for the Richmond Popcorn Company.
Yes.
Aaron, which caller should we take today?
We are going to take caller number 4.
Caller number 4, 519-792-2559. Caller number 4 will win a gift card for the Richmond Popcorn Company in Amherstburg. So stay tuned. There's still more to come right here on the Dan Gemus Real Estate Show.